Good morning and welcome to Morning Moments. I have a actress, a developer of talent, production. She owns her own production company, and she'll be telling you more about what she does. Another person from Treasure Coast, and I think I got about three or four more people I haven't interviewed for Treasure Coast, but it's such a delight to have Tonja Rene come on Morning Moments. Tonja, welcome to Morning Moments.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Tell us, I know I haven't done your introduction justice because you do so many things. Tell us about yourself. What do you do and why do you do it?
Well, I have a production and talent development company, and that's really the main thing that is the reason why God drew me back into this industry. So I am an actress. But that wasn't, when I came back into the industry, I'm like, Lord, am I supposed to be in front of the camera or not? Because I don't have to be. And he said, yes. So basically my story it's God's story to write. I'm still on this journey, not knowing all of the ways that it gravitates. I just know that he taught me to listen to him and obey. I walked away from pursuing my career in entertainment at all. After I lost my mom to cancer. She was my big support. She was actually she was behind helping me start. I was recording an album. I'd already done my first time in the studio and was supposed to go back. And just thought, I'm a single mom. I'm going to lay that down because I've got to deal with my children who are grieving. We didn't only lose my mom, but my mother-in-law, who was also just an incredible woman in my life. She was killed in a car accident several months after that. So within a year, we lost just some very valuable people. My children lost valuable people in their lives. So I thought, Lord, however you want to use me to empower people through their gifts and talents, you'll use me. And so I had a very successful career in the real estate industry, in the building world. And as a part of my sales and marketing world, I created platforms to where I could also mentor and coach other people in their careers. And it just kind of naturally gravitated. And so you fast forward from there, I also did interior design, and that ultimately led to me owning an interior design business. But from all of those things, really, if you can look at it, God used every bit of that and all the trials I've gone through to prepare me for where he ultimately wanted to use all of that. And that's a cool story. But in 2004, I was pregnant with my daughter, laying in bed, and he gave me this incredible dream that was so surreal. It's like he lifted me up out of the bed and took me into old Hollywood. And it's like there was a movie reel playing, old Hollywood, black and white scenes, movies being made. And I was just kind of happy. He was standing next to me. And then I could look over in between the buildings and see clouds coming through. And I looked at it, and the Lord said, "You see that?" And I said, "Yes, Lord." And he said, "That is because my children started to pull my light out of the industry." And then that movie reel that I was seeing started changing to color, and some of the other just agendas that were happening, pedophilia, trafficking, other things in the industry, just the more darkness of story and in integrity, not only in entertainment, but also in our journalism side of things. And he looked at me, and I find God, my relationship with the Lord, he has a great sense of humor too. He said, "Am I not the greatest storyteller there is?" And I said, "Well, yes, Lord." He said, "Well, why will my children not do what I've asked them to do? Why will they not create stories the way I want them to?" And basically from there, to make a long story short, he said, then he changed the reel to show me what he was going to have me doing in the future, and said, "I'm raising up a remnant of people who will not compromise what I've asked them to do until I return. We have the greatest sphere of influence, which is media, to impact people globally. And it's been given to the enemy. So of course, darkness has overtaken it. We need to give back what really is God's to use for his purposes and not be afraid of it." And with that, he basically said, I'm raising up people who have a business mind, who have a business background, to not just tell good stories, but to understand how the business operates, and to have the character and the tenacity and the boldness, but to tell stories my way. God does not shy away from telling all the difficult stuff in his word. Now, we don't need to be showing things graphic. We can allude to them, but we've got to paint a picture that's very real. And the other thing is we have to appeal to what Jesus did in his ministry, which was he was going after the world. He wasn't going after the religious Pharisees. As a matter of fact, they were the ones who opposed him the biggest or the greatest, but he was there to heal the sick. So with that being in mind, we have to be involved in the culture, not to be enmeshed with it, but in order for them to relate to the kind of stories that we tell. And if we're not doing that, then we're really only preaching to the choir, and that's not doing what Jesus did in his ministry. And that means that we should be his disciples, and we should also be raising up disciples to know the word, what it says, rooted in us, so that wherever we go, wherever God calls us, we shouldn't be afraid of going there. We should know that we're called there to be light. And so basically, I woke up from it. He laid me back in the bed, and I literally can tell you, I felt myself laying back in the bed before I woke up. And I thought my husband was going to think I was nuts, but he affirmed that dream. And I said, well, I can tell you two things is going to happen from here. First of all, Lord, if this is truly what you've called me to do, this is much bigger than me. And you know, I'm doing nothing with that part of my life. So you're going to make it happen. I'm not going to manipulate myself back into that entertainment realm. I will be available for you to reshape my career, my life, everything. And two, we better be ready for the trials to come, because that sphere of influence, first of all, has such a stronghold from the enemy. But secondly, whenever God calls us to something, we go through a season of trials to prepare us for that, to hone us, to stretch us, to shape our character. And of course, thank goodness he doesn't tell us about all the trials, because there were many, and many times there were multiple trials at one time. But I can say to you that Satan knows exactly where to target us at our weakest point to get us to quit. And how I knew it was the Lord is I never lost sight of what that dream. And every time the things got gut wrenching, literally hell on earth sometimes, it spurred me on. It spurred me on. The Lord would speak into me in the tenderness, as our Lord does, of what he wanted to do. He would instruct me. He would guide me. He'd tell me when to hold still, when to move forward, direction to take. That's how I knew that this was the Lord. The other thing is, we have to know what our first spiritual gifts are and take those into what we've been called to do with our life. And one of my very top gifts is in the prophetic, actually, is speaking truth, and as a watchman. So that's sometimes not pleasant, but he calls us to that. And I had to learn how to navigate that. I had to learn what that meant. I wasn't really from an upbringing where I was taught those things. But from everything I walked through, I learned that he gives us those gifts to learn how to pray into, how to do spiritual warfare, how to, in our business world, how to have discernment and wisdom to navigate what he's called us to do. And I believe he's raised up many others who now he's beginning to bring together, to collaborate. And now he's also beginning to place in the hearts of even investors and people to do what he's called us to do. And that's where we're at right now.
You know, when you were talking, I was thinking of 1 John 4:4. Greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. In our weakness, he has made us strong.
Yes.
And I want to talk about power, the power of God. God will empower you through his word, through your prayer life, to be and to develop the gifts he's given you in a way that you'll never believe if you give it to him. Some of you are listening to this and saying, I just feel so weak right now. I don't know what God has for me, or I have an ideal, but I don't have the ability to do it. Stop looking at your ability and look at your availability. Your availability will say God will equip you. If he's called you, he doesn't always call the equipped. He equips who he calls. And God has empowered you to do what he has gifted you. And he has put people in your life like Tonja empowers people to develop their talents of acting He has put people surrounding you to empower you. Allow them to speak into your life so that you can be empowered in the gifts that God has given you. Some of you are saying, well, I don't want to be an actor. God didn't call you to be an actor. I don't want to be this. Well, figure out what God has given you the gifts of. He often puts his calling and his purpose in your life somewhere within your passion. What are you passionate about?
Yes.
And when you become passionate about it, and then you say, now, God, this is my passion. Now empower me. Then First John 4:4 really comes in. Greater is he's in the world than me. I am empowered by him when I surrender to him. Rene, uh, God has really blessed you to empower you for what you've gone through.
Well, and that's exactly why the name of my company is what it is because he gave it to me. We're empowered through the word to do great things, greater than we could ever imagine.
Greater than we could ever imagine. And for me, I'm a visionary, and I really think to the sky, and I have a lot of ideas. And God says, I'm going to even do more than you could even think. Wow. That's going to be great. And so
I have to speak to that too, because all along in my journey, when he had me in the no, I want you to be doing this, but hold back. It's because he was saying, go bigger, think bigger.
Yeah.
His impact that he wants to make through his people is big. And sometimes we sell him short by keeping in our little comfort zone. He wants us to go big.
Good. Some of you listen to this today and go, well, I'm not in the film industry. Some of you are. But some of you that's not in the film industry going, I don't know why I'm just listening to this person who's a filmmaker and an actress. I want you to take note to what God is speaking to your heart right now while you're listening to this. I'm going to put down below all of the links for Tonja, her movies and her all the things that she's doing so that you could follow her. But I want you to take time right now after this interview is over and stop and say, God, just touch Tonja. Let her just be the light to this dark world. And God's got great things for her, but she needs your prayers behind her so she could fulfill what God has for you, just as we're praying for you that God would fulfill the call in your life as well. Tonja, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for Morning Moments. And I'm going to ask you if you would please just keep on coming back.